Daily momentum building on the Bitcoin chart, but any type of breakout, meaningful breakout for a BTC, not going to come without some hurdles or challenges in the way. I want to break down what that looks like on the daily and how it translates on the weekly. Cardano, zooming in on Cardano, a big move happening on this 4-hour chart. There is a breakout out of this trend line, but something bigger happening on the weekly. I want to break that down in the video. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's just jump into this BTC and ADA video, and let's start with Bitcoin on the weekly. So the shorter term move that we're seeing when it comes to momentum of Bitcoin, and when I say momentum, I'm mainly just talking about all of these momentum oscillators. This shift of the slower moving RSI, this shift in the stock RSI coming out of oversold, you see right there on the screen. And also, if I open this up, because I know it's quite small at the bottom of the screen, this shift of the MACD. And you can see this MACD, and we've been tracking this for quite some time as it's been all below the zero on the histogram since April. It's been under zero. This potential swing to the upside. This is building momentum, pressure mounting for Bitcoin. Now, there is a hurdle in the way, but the thing that kind of I'm tracking on the short term lies within that yellow trend line that you see there. This resistance, this lower high area that could be resistance, and how it translates on the weekly is this. And this is why I think it's important, because what's happening right now, comparable to a move that happened all the way back here, that much of the market has compared this entire exit out of the bear market to back here in 2018 into 2019. If you notice something, and this is where I want to start on the weekly, the 20-week moving average, Bitcoin on this chart, just kind of higher highs, higher lows, and then this lower high consolidation to the 20-week moving average, and it failed, right? We're having a very similar thing happening. It's not been such an aggressive move on Bitcoin, but we're having higher highs and higher lows out of the exit of the bear market above the 20-week moving average. And right now we're getting this revisit down to the moving averages. The 200-day move or 200-week moving averages was not here in the last bear market, right? But it's here now. But it's the 20-week that's being pulled into Bitcoin right now that I'm very curious of, as Bitcoin is putting in lower highs, consolidating into that area. Are we going to get a similar move that we had back here in 2019 that led to further consolidation on a multi-month basis, meaning we fall below that 20-week moving average? The reason why that's important to me is because if the opposite happens, this is where we start looking for bullish confirmations as opposed to only bearish confirmations. A bullish confirmation would start with support. Maybe since we do have the 200-week moving average in red, support there. Here's the 20-week moving average meeting support there. Right now, that is right around 25,000. So we have this range down to around $25,000 right now. But if Bitcoin can actually see this lift of support away from even just the 200, not even touch the 20, that's what becomes meaningful for me. And that's kind of where the daily chart comes into play. We have that upside momentum in play that could really give Bitcoin this burst into this bullish confirmation. But here's the hurdle that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. The hurdle, there's numerous hurdles actually. And really, when I say that, it's just massive resistance, which resistance that's here also playing into bullish confirmation if it's broken. Bullish confirmation for me is these things being broken and us being able to sit here and say that $40,000 target is still in play for Bitcoin. $40,000 target is out of this rising channel that goes back all the way to 2022. Bitcoin breaking out of that channel in March, just kind of hovering above it. Right now, just right at that upper trend line, there's a $40,000 target. So if Bitcoin diverges from what it did in 2019 at these lower highs and actually breaks above that area, Bitcoin could very much be getting ready for its next leg up. So a lot has to happen, right? There's a lot of resistance. So we have the trend line, this longer term trend line to 2022. Bitcoin, we want to see it get above there. First off, 27,500. This is the very beginning of this week, right? There's 6 days, 22 hours left. So it's an important week on this daily chart because the resistance really is here. I mean, maybe Bitcoin can just trade sideways below all of that resistance, but it would be very nice to see if it's tested, meaning first, this upper trend line right around 27,700. And look at these moving averages, the 20 and 50-day moving averages, very confluent with each other, right in this range of like 28,500 $28,300. Such a small range. And that range from this upper trend line, even still, that's a small range, 3%. And then we have the ultimate lower high resistance area, 6% from where Bitcoin is right now. Can Bitcoin break above that area? If there's any chart where Bitcoin has a shot in terms of momentum to make that move, it's this momentum, all these momentum charts, right? On the daily. So the RSI, ton of room to the upside. Stock RSI, coming out of oversold. I mean, just look at last time it was coming out of oversold. A nice burst to the upside. There was lower high resistance. If we get a nice burst to the upside, will there be lower high resistance, or are we going to get that explosive bullish confirmation? This is what I'm watching going into this week. There are so many other things that we could talk about probably relating to Bitcoin, but I think this really sums up what I'm watching. Keep in mind, I didn't really talk much about downside, but the downside is this. Bitcoin sees immediate resistance at this upper trend line and just continues its fall to the downside this week. There's so much going on in markets, so much going on in the world. So Sunday nights are always interesting going into a new week to see what type of response Bitcoin, crypto, Cardano, whatever is going to have to what's going on in the headlines. So this is what we're going to watch for Bitcoin going into this week. And then going over to Cardano, this is what we have going on. This is a big deal on the weekly, at least for me, because as many of you know, if you're an ADA holder watching my videos, it's just been this 20-week moving average. This green line has been it's been that thing that we've talked so much about in the bear market and even coming out of this bear market and even right now. Most previously back here, 20-week moving average, this support, the bounce off of that area. Now we're revisited again. What have we been tracking is ADA at the 20-week moving average. How did that last weekly candle close? And here's the big news. It closed above the 20-week moving average. That doesn't mean it's going to just go bullish all of a sudden. Now we track this weekly, right? And right now you can see this weekly candle above the 20-week moving average in green, which is a big deal. But how will this week close? The thing that I'm looking for, instead of just sitting here week after week saying, hey, is it going to close above that 20-week? The thing that I'm looking for, once again, is what we got kind of off of this bounce back here in March. It's just that separation. And the short-term charts, and this is the 4-hour chart, plays very much into this weekly and what could be possible upside and downside. So check this out. We want to get just separation from this 20-week moving average. Get it, just leave it behind. Leave it in the dust is what we want to see ADA do. And in order to do that, it's got to move up, right? And what's above this is the 50-week moving average, right around 40 cents. This is a really big moving average as well from a cycle perspective. The 20-week, important because it's really been a piece of the ADA story through the bear market, meaning ADA has actually just grappled with it multiple times, right? The 50-week, ADA was not even near it pretty much the entire bear market. Now, ADA is starting to grapple with that. And this entire move here with these moving averages, this is what a cycle shift looks like. It's convergence of moving averages. There's a lot of volatility in this happening, but we want to see the 50-week moving average broken as well. It's 40 cents. So this is where the shorter term charts come into play. And if we go to the 4-hour chart, we obviously have this falling wedge. ADA breaking the upper trend line right now. It's still so early. I mean, there's not really any nice separation or explosive move for ADA out of that falling wedge, but it's important nonetheless because the target to the upside out of this wedge, if it gets hit, and that's not like an immediate thing, ADA could come up to 40 cents, fall back down to the wedge apex, and then it could just maybe continue up then, and we're in May, end of May, right? Maybe it's even June, and then 45 cents is in play. That's the target to the upside. That's notable and important on this chart, especially from a cycle shift perspective. If ADA is going to go bullish, and we're going to talk about downside in a minute because we always evaluate downside, but that 40 cent mark is right where the 50-week moving average is. So if ADA is sitting at a 45 cent target, this is ADA above both the 20-week moving average and the 50-week moving average at the same time. And this is something that did not last long when it happened last at the beginning of April. But that is exactly precisely what we want to see in any cycle shift into a new bull phase, right? It's just getting above both of these moving averages, the 20 and the 50-week moving average. So that's really what we want to see play out for ADA. And the chart that could lead ADA to that is right here, 45-cent breakout. At the end of the day, again, just like with Bitcoin, there's absolutely no guarantee that ADA gets this separation from this trend line. Even in the current candle, I could be uploading this video and this 4-hour candle could be closing below this trend line, right? And then we're still in the apex and it's trending back down. All of a sudden, before you know it, ADA is like 10% to the downside, testing 34 cents again. And then we're talking about the target to the downside at 28. So there's definitely these targets, 45, 28, but we have to monitor closely on the short term, especially as we look at what's going on in the headlines and in the world. But then we just start evaluating, well, what do we have on other charts like the daily, right? So if ADA does start falling down into this apex, we have this lower trend line right around 34 cents. If we go to the daily chart, we have this 200 moving average right around 35 cents. Could this act as continued support for ADA if we're trending down? So this is kind of a story. This is why I do technical analysis almost every day for Bitcoin, for Cardano, is just because this is an ongoing story before something actually breaks, before something pops. And it's been very kind of boring lately because it's been consolidation. Look at the consolidation of these moving averages. All of these moving averages just like converging together. So there's not been this explosive move just yet. And that's on the daily. And it's the same thing happening on the weekly, the convergence of these moving averages. We're waiting for that big move. We're waiting for this pop of separation, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. But you can just see as ADA is consolidating this falling wedge, potentially a big move getting ready to happen one way or the other, meaning this is the apex. Are we going up? Are we going down? This is something we'll be tracking. But I will say, big deal on the weekly as ADA has closed the last weekly candle above that 20-week moving average. So to sum it up very nicely, so you're saying there's a chance. That's what that support is saying. There's a chance. ADA is still in play to be bullish, but now the question remains, will this new weekly candle close above the 20-week? Will there be that pop of separation to the upside? And this is the short-term 4-hour chart that I think tells that story. And hopefully this week we really get a nice, clear answer. So I hope you have an awesome start to your week, everybody. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe. I really appreciate your support. Hit the like button for me as well. I really, really do. Thank you all so much for watching. Have an awesome start to your week. God bless.